Hi, I'm Joanna Lee.
Hi, I'm Dan Curley.
Welcome to the
Welcome to the
401.
401.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
We're,
everybody.
we're getting a little bit of a late start tonight. We'll just blame it on my trip to Walmart.
401 p.m. edition. Bam, bam.
Well, let's just say we're reaching out to our West Coast viewers
Oh, there
and
we
maybe
go.
early morning to some of our European viewers. So, welcome. Either
Oh, and
way,
Australia.
yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
yeah. It's what it would be midday to our Australian and New Zealand friends, right?
Yes. Oh,
Is
they're
that? I
probably
mean,
working. They're probably busy.
well, I mean, maybe. I mean, it's the weekend. They might not be busy.
Oh, partying.
I don't know. Anyway, so we've got some great stuff tonight. Some interesting topics to talk about. So we'll just jump right into it.
You jump,
Uh,
I jump, right?
you jump, I jump. Ha ha ha. Very funny. Um, I'm just kind of watching the live stream. I'm not sure if it just hasn't caught up to us yet. And but anyway, so hot topic tonight. In another group, I won't mention which one, um, a new book was mentioned. Um, and so I guess the hot topic is, and this is not necessarily my opinion, but the new book was met with a little bit of flack. And I saw this particular book mentioned in a few other groups. Um, you know, is there ever going to be, are there ever going to be too many Titanic books?
Mm.
Or is it just that a Titanic book by a new author? Is that too many? Um, uh, is it just not, is a new Titanic author not welcome? Because when you see, our familiar authors such as J. Kent Layton and Bill Wormstead and Tad Fitch, when they come out with a new book, everybody's like, "Ooh!" and jump on it.
Mhm.
And when George Behe, when he has a new book come out, we're like, "Yay, we're getting this book!" And even like Norbert Zimmerman, he has a new book coming out. We're like, "Yay, this is exciting!" But when a new author comes out with a new book, we're all like, should
Mhm.
it be like that? Should we, welcome, new books and new authors with open arms and just give it a try? So anyway, so let me see. I've got a visual of this book. Let me see if I can find it here. Bear with me for just a moment, and I will share my screen. Uh, Hold on just a second.
This will be new to me.
Yeah, I mean, is new necessarily, not good? I
Mm.
mean, I guess that's my question here.
Well, here's the way I look at it is there's sort of two ways to sort of a pro for newer people entering the realm of Titanic books and stuff like that. We talked about last week the Death of a Dream documentary. Oh, there we go. Oh, kind of looks like Midnight Watch. The cover
Yeah.
reminds me of Midnight Watch a little bit.
Can you all see that? Can y'all see that?
That's a cool looking cover.
Oh yeah, I have to say the cover art's pretty cool.
Hmm.
The title is intriguing. Um, you know, um, Analysis of evasive maneuvers and damage assessments on the RMS Titanic. My question is it going to be new information or is it a rehash of old information?
Hmm.
Um, my friend who posted this in one of the groups gave a link to the History Press where it's going to be sold. I believe this book is coming out next summer, so we have a little while
Hmm.
to think about it.
Yeah.
So a synopsis of the book says at 11:40 p.m. On 14 April 1912, Titanic collided with an iceberg in the middle of the North Atlantic and began to sink. From the
Hmm.
moment the iceberg was spotted, the ship was on a collision course with Destiny, with the immediate aftermath of the collision becoming a race against time for those on board to inspect the damage and determine Titanic's fate. In this new study, the events of both the evasive maneuvers and the subsequent damage assessment are broken down order by order, moment by moment, giving a forensic analysis of these crucial events. In doing so, with the backing of an exhaustive collection of both historical and modern data, along with over 20 years of personal research by Brad Payne, facts are separated from myth, and the most accurate truths about what really happened aboard Titanic during these critical moments is revealed.
Well, the way I look at it is there's, of course, a lot of Titanic books out there. You know, I mean, you and I together, if we put both of our book collections together, it would be a lot, but not even scratching the surface.
Yeah,
The
I
way,
have over 300 at last count.
I have bunches.
So,
Oh,
I mean, is this really going to shed some light
mm,
on new information? I mean, I'm 43 years old. I've been studying the Titanic since I
yeah.
was 6. Okay, where is this? Okay, nowhere in this does it say where the forensic information is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Has Mr. Payne been down to the Titanic and studied what's under the sediment to
Mm-hmm.
see what the actual damage was done?
Yeah.
Where is this information coming from? Is it coming from past expedition information? Is it coming from, where is it coming from? I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just like,
Oh no, I get you.
you know, how is this new information
Well,
from
that part I could get,
extensive
'cause that,
libraries that we have,
yeah.
out of the documentaries that we have seen, out of the people that we have interviewed and talked to in the Titanic
Mm-hmm.
community, experts in the field? Dr. David Gallo, Bill
Stevenson,
Sauter, Bill Lang. Who else have we talked to, Dan?
Park Stevenson.
Park Stevenson. How is this different from anything that they have told us?
Well, the way I look at it is, and we brought this up when we talked about Queen Elizabeth last week,
Mm-hmm.
is you can only, like, new documentaries or new books. The way I always look at certain things is, especially like with this, is even if it's old information, how do you present it? And also, what your writing style, like a Titanic book from 1953 is going to be different from one from 1986, is going to be different from one from 1998. And like, the way I look at it is, and this isn't getting, the new information could be, you have a valid point there with the new information where they say, oh, we have new information. Either they interpreted something that maybe a Park Stevenson found out and they put their 2 cents in and they went this way, or they talked to these people. That could also be very dangerous because you say, I have new information, and it's like, wait, I heard that before, or it's kind of implausible.
Yeah.
But so that could be dangerous, and that we'll have to wait and see, because we don't have the book in front of us to dispute anything. And also, too, like you said, oh, I have brand new information, and maybe it's like a tiny tidbit, like a kernel of something new, and then everything else is old hat. But in terms of like new Titanic books, new authors, I think you could be kind of open-minded, because as newer books and newer generations latch on, there may be new writing styles.
True.
There may be new ways to tell the narrative. Like you'll have, like I said, Titanic got big again. Like in the original, back in the day, you had like Archibald Gracie's book.
Mm-hmm.
You had Lawrence Beasley's book. You had Lawrence Beasley, Archibald Gracie.
And we had all those 1912 books that came
Yeah,
out.
there you go. Like,
well, so accurate information like came out, like
yeah,
Mike with the Titanic sinking. We're also, you read those now.
Exactly. Well, the way I'm going at it though is like the original Titanic authors.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot of them were actual Titanic survivors, and your brain will probably explode when I say this. I don't count Titanic Survivor as one of those books. I count that as a later because that came out after the Cameron movie, I believe. So that doesn't even count. But like
Listen, before we get too far, hold on.
oh yeah.
Before we get too far, I want to say hello to our viewers, Stephen Pierce, Debbie McKee. Hi, thank you all for watching.
Hey everybody, hi Debbie.
Stephen, thank you so much. Stephen says, congrats on my wedding. Thank you so much. 3 weeks today. Woo. We've made it that far. Stephen Pierce says, I've always wondered when Titanic hit the bottom at 30 miles per hour or more, what the damage to the iceberg did was changed for the force of impact, or will we ever know?
Oh, that's a good.
That's something we may never know, because you're right. When it hit going so hard, the impact may have caused, additional significant damage. So even if somehow,
you could
and I think they have used sonar to, assess some of the damage. At some point they have, but I think it would be very difficult at this point to tell what damage was caused by the iceberg exactly and what damage was caused by the impact.
And also the split.
The split, the breaking apart.
Yeah, the split.
I think at this point, there's so much damage from all three things: the impact with the iceberg, the split at this, just below the surface, and also the impact with
the impact to the bottom
floor. There's just three layers of damage there. It's going to be so hard to tell. But again, I'm interested, this book here, this 1140 book, he says he has forensic analysis, but then I've also gotten George Behe's book that also claims to have a forensic analysis of what happened that night. That just came out. Of course, I haven't read it yet. Those were my favorites, last words. Just got this book, haven't read it yet. I featured that on last week's show. George Behe's book, the new one. I think I can run get it, but I think
medical dossier.
Yeah, medical dossier. Thank you, Dan. You're always there when I lose my words. But I think it's, that's supposed to be a forensic analysis of what happened that night. So I'm curious about how these two books are different. George, how thorough George is about everything. So, I'm just curious, what the differences are. But yeah, I think that we should be fair to all authors, new and, older.
And a lot of the, like I was saying originally,
well respected. But yeah, I think that we should give newer authors a chance.
Sure.
Except for the one
since the old one.
That one I posted about last year that popped up on my news feed. Mermaid on the Titanic.
Well, those are always around. That's nothing new.
That one I was just like, no.
I mean, they had a movie with a singing dog on the Titanic once. So that's not. Yeah, that cartoon one.
Hi, Greg. Greg Ellis is watching. Well, don't forget the general deterioration over the years. That's true too. There's been a significant amount of deterioration, and all the a lot of the damage is below the sediment. So it's hard to say if we'll ever know what exactly what happened, which I think is part of the lure of the Titanic. To be honest, the fact is that no one will ever know 100% what actually happened. Everybody has their theory, and possibly there's a good possibility that nobody is ever 100% wrong, or
not even survivors right. Got the
right.
Not even survivors got the whole story right. So
because it was vantage point, Dan.
Yeah.
Survivors. If you were here, you saw one thing. If you were here, you saw another thing. And nobody's really wrong, but it's just dependent on where you were. But also, Nigel Bryant says a deck promenade falling out. Yeah, true. Okay.
But before that's just a whole other thing with as it passes from older authors to newer authors, different perspectives. The survivors to like Walter Lord to the 80s writers, the 90s. They retire. And it also too the way different generations write that style may attach more to a newer audience. So it's its
Mhm.
whole thing. And I mean, hey, best wishes to this new book. I hope it does well, and I hope it's something that people enjoy and ask questions instead of, like you said, Titanic mermaids and stuff.
Yeah, I
But
saw that one last
actual,
year. I was like,
but you hope it brings up actual conversation and not like hype, you know. So hey,
mm.
I hope it's best saved, you know. The
So yeah, I wish this new author luck. Wish him
Mhm,
the very best of luck with his book. I
absolutely.
would like to see somebody get it and review it. And if it's great, then we'll all buy it because that's what we Titanic people do. Nigel Bryant says nobody has the last word on Titanic, and that's true because we're all always learning things. Things are always evolving. New things are coming to
Mhm.
light all the time. So nobody
Oh
really has
well,
the last word.
well, that's the funny thing, you brought it up with that Last Word documentary.
True.
Both Ken Marshall and James Cameron were proven to be, you made the stern go up too high. So,
Mhm.
and I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lauded film and one of the great maritime
Mhm.
painters of all time. So everybody can be corrected, and it's like he said,
Mhm.
nobody, like Nigel
Nobody's
said,
gonna be
nobody
100%
has
right.
the answer.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
All right. So moving right along to current events. All right. So this popped up in my news feed this morning, but it's actually kind of something from April. But in this month's edition of the Straus Historical Society newsletter, um, they uh, they wrote about how Paul Kurzman, the I think great grandson of Isidore and Ida Straus, finally loaned his beloved um, Strauss locket to the Titanic Museum attraction in Pigeon Forge.
Wow.
Now, that's really funny because um, my husband and I, if some of you don't already know, we got married 3 weeks ago at the Titanic Museum attraction in Pigeon Forge. Our photographer took us into the Strauss suite there. They have it set up as like a replica. And as we were like in there, I saw something that I thought looked like the Strauss locket, but I thought to myself, no, that must be a replica because Paul Kirschman would probably never let go of that thing because it meant so much to him. I interviewed him for an article that I did um, with a friend of mine a few years ago, and it was obvious that that meant quite a huge deal to him. In fact, this is what he had to say about it. I asked him if his family had any mementos or heirlooms that belonged to Isidore or Ida Strauss. And he said, members of the family and the Strauss Historical Society possess many mementos and heirlooms that belong to Isidore and Ida Strauss. I possess a gold locket with an onyx inlay of his initials, IS, that was recovered from Isidore's vest when his body was retrieved from the sea. It was given to my grandmother, his eldest daughter, who in turn gave it to her eldest daughter, my mother, who gave it to me. Isidore's silver watch and his wedding band are in the possession of the society, along with original photographs, scrapbooks, news clippings, letters, drawing, marriage certificate. Um, but anywho, so I wish I had taken a picture of it while I was there at the museum, but I'll show you what the Strauss Historical Society posted today. Um, does everybody see that? Where did it go? Am I sharing my screen? Do you see anything, Dan?
No, still our faces. Oh, no, there it
There we
goes.
go. I used to know how to do this, and I used to be able to do it very well. But if you look at this very carefully, I was just at the Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge. Up here on the top left, this is the actual exhibit that I saw that I was running past. And so you can see the little key fob or the little locket right here. If you open it up, it has these photographs in it. And then down on the right beside that, that is, I believe, David David Kurzman, who is Paul Kurzman's son. If you look down the grand staircase, you see several people here. One is Mary Jocelyn, who is the co-owner of the Titanic Museum attraction. Then there's Paul Burns, who is the curator and vice president. Then you see David Kurzman, and then I believe that is, who did I say that was, Dan? What is wrong with my memory? Anyway, so there's quite a few key players, and then there is the locket there. And that's just something very special to have. If you click on the link that was in that that post, I shared it in the Great Olympic Class Ships by RMS Titanic Reflections group. But if you click on the link in the post by the Straus Historical Society, it takes you to their August newsletter. This event took place on April 5th and 6th of this year, but the newsletter was just recently released. It has a lovely write-up in it about everything that took place and how this was actually part of the Jews and the Titanic exhibit at the Titanic Museum attraction in Pigeon Forge. So I think that was just really lovely. I'm trying to figure out, I wanted to show you guys some, oh, there we go. Oh, it's actually working this time. These are some of the photographs that the photographer took of my husband and I on our wedding day in the Straus suite at the Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge, which was absolutely lovely. You can see all kinds of photographs and things there of the Strauses. There's the Straus. If you look in the lower right-hand corner of this, you'll see the statue, the bust of Ida Straus. But it's just an absolutely lovely room.
Wow.
Oops, we're back to that again. But it was just really nice being able to be photographed in that room. It was just really pretty. But anyway, so that was just something neat today. I was just very surprised that that they had that, and that is just a really rare and neat artifact for the Titanic Museum to have on display right now. So if you're in Tennessee at the Titanic Museum attraction, be sure to stop by the Straus room up there and
So
check
well
out
done.
that
So
really,
done. So beautifully done, that entire
yeah,
room.
it is, that entire room. So that room that we're being photographed in, if you step just a little bit outside of the actual room, most guests are not allowed in the room. If you step just a little outside the room, they have it kind of partitioned off, and that's where the display is with the locket. It has like all these nameplates and explanations of what everything are, and then it has a case with the locket in it explaining what that is and everything.
That is incredible.
So I highly recommend the museum altogether, and then that particular exhibit is just absolutely beautiful. Anyway, any questions about that, y'all? Anybody? I just thought that was really cool. Having actually interviewed Paul Kurzman and having been in that room and actually seeing that by accident, I was like, that couldn't possibly be the real one. But yeah, so I thought that was so neat. So we're going to move on to collectibles if nobody has anything else.
For me, what's just before we go real quick, what's interesting is that whole locket went through almost the entire like story of Titanic, you know, with Isidore, you know, he from being on the ship to, you know, sadly going down with the ship and then being found again when his body was recovered. It's just and it's like it's something that people can look at and really visit, something that was physically part of. It's really moving. It is. It really is incredible.
But that's the kind of things, the exhibits that the Titanic Museum attraction in Pigeon Forge has. They have so many things that are just really moving. And if you take the time to go through the exhibit very slowly and read all the captions for everything and just really absorb what they have. You'll find little things like that. It's just really, really quite something. So we're going to move on now to collectibles. We have some different things this evening. We're moving on from the serious to the not so serious. What do you have, Dan?
Well, partially serious on my, well, okay. It depends on where you fall. Last week, with the book segment, and that's something we're gonna continue with, I decided to start going into more like when I first got into Titanic, what as a 97er, even though I was probably like 1996 or well, anyway, that era of new Titanic person. And I remembered seeing this and I thought, wow, that was really cool. And it's kind of just an example of how sad it is now that physical media is kind of going the way of the dodo bird. And I remembered this was one of like the coolest movie sets that I ever saw. I don't know if you have this one.
I have that one. I have that exact one. Yes, I do. And it came with the film cell and everything.
Mm-hmm. What was weird for me is they were $8 at FYE and they had a bunch of them. I should have, if it was me now, I would have bought like 12 of them. But yeah, what was really cool with this one, and it's Rose and Jack, everybody run.
No, oh no, run, y'all, run. We're showing something with Rose and Jack. We should show a disclaimer.
But like look at this, like just the whole like like the
excuse me just a moment. That reminds me, I have to go get something. I'll be right back. Dan, hold down the fort for a moment.
I'll keep talking about this. So yeah,
I forgot one of my collectibles.
But yeah, it was like really cool, like how this was put out and everything. It came with the film cells, and this one is Rose and Jack in the car, the Renault, and then this is them, I believe, running away from Lovejoy. And then like it just even went even further. It came with like this giant book. And I mean, I will admit it's crazy. I haven't seen one historical character in this whole setup yet, but this really brings me back to, because me watching that original movie, and even A Night to Remember was on VHS, and I just thought this is one of, people think this is crazy. This is one of my favorite things. Just
well, since we're getting close to the 25th anniversary, we'll allow it. Mine is downstairs with the big movie display, and some of the more tacky or goodies that I have. But I do have the big movie posters. I have that. I have I have quite a few different VHS versions. I have the gold version. I have the original version that I got at midnight.
The widescreen version.
I have just a ridiculous number of VHS versions. And every time I go to a thrift shop and see them on sale for 50 cents, I buy them. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I have a box of them on the other side of the basement.
Well, no, like even with me, like a lot of my Titanic stuff or my physical media. I mean, I picked up DVDs, but like you could tell what was my early stuff because Death of a Dream, VHS, A Night to Remember, VHS, this one, VHS. I never know what to call this one. With I think 97 or.
Does anybody else do that? Do you just see like Titanic movies? Any even though you already have them or multiple copies?
Well, like if I see No Greater Love again, I'm picking that up. I'll send it to you. The VHS.
I have it.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do one of my collectibles.
Oh, go for it.
This river that I have because you jogged my memory. So one of my dear Titanic friends sent me this. I received it yesterday. And I've always wanted one of these. I don't know why. I know they made a whole bunch of different ones, but I just wanted one. So she has one and I have one, and this is what it is.
Oh, cool.
Isn't that cool? So these are actually quite neat. You just open them up, and it has I know it's awful. It has Jack and Rose on it, y'all. But
Yeah.
it just reminds me. I remember going to see the '97 movie in the theater. I went on New Year's Eve, and they they stopped it. They did the intermission to coordinate with the countdown. So they did the intermission. Everyone counted down to New Year's, and we watched the rest of the movie in '98. So we can say that it like lasted into the next year. But it's great. Anyway, so and I cried and cried and cried because up until then, everything I had seen was in documentaries and not so great movies and books, and just seeing it all on the big screen,
Did
regardless
you
of the
see?
fictional characters, was just the look. You wind it up. And it plays the little song.
I have two music boxes that play that song. I bought.
You can, I don't know if it's supposed to do this, but this part comes out. And so my friend had some little nautical charms in here for me.
That's
A
cool.
little life preserver and an anchor. Isn't that sweet? So I have the place my heart will go on, by the way. Y'all could not get any cheesier than this. But it's very special. I just, like I said, I've always wanted one. I think it's kind of neat. Because,
I like that one because the two that I have, they're just like plain, they're box looking ones. I like the one that has like a wind up on the
it's
side.
got the nice big like jewel heart on the top. So my heart will go on, and it says my heart will go, the heart of the ocean. It says that on the thing. But anyway, I thought that was very thoughtful, my friend. I just love it. What else you got, Dan? It's gonna keep playing. I'm so sorry, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I have two of the music boxes. There's a little wooden one that I really like because it shows the tune going on the
Oh, I
inside.
remember that. Or were you telling
Yeah,
that?
and you put the key in the side. I really like that one. Me and
It's still
Debbie
playing.
watching, and we both have that one. It's a really cool little sweet one. I like it. So this is my other thing that I got this week.
I remember this one.
Yeah, so I went to a friend's house, and you know what I got?
What?
Be prepared to get jealous. U.S. president stamps up to Lyndon Johnson. All right. No, I got this the same day, but actually, to make it Titanic related, give me a second. Give me a second. William Howard Taft stamp. There you go. Anyway, no. What happened is my buddy that I got my sheet music from got in touch with me, and he's like, "Oh, do you have that? You have this?" And I was like, "Oh, I want them. So let me go visit." And I ended up acquiring. These are now triple. I have triple of this. The Titanic sheet music.
And I just have one. I want to get the full set though. So Dan's watching out for me to see if he can find like more of the other ones. What's the other one? I lost my heart on the Titanic. Or what is it?
My sweetheart went down with the ship, and
oh,
what the hell's the other one? I can't remember. Oh, it's like a plane. I can't.
Those are nice though. They look like they're in really good shape.
Oh yeah, no, there's the blue, and then
very nice. The one I have is blue, but it's really fragile. I mean, mine is like super like.
Oh, I've never even. I don't even think I've touched the. Oh, as the ship went down.
Oh, as the ship went. Okay, yeah. I need those two.
Yeah, so I mean, I do have 3 of these. So I mean, those would probably be on the trading block at some point, or if anybody at some point, I don't know. I'll probably be, because I can't say for sure yet. I am planning on going to the Titanic con.
You
So
better.
maybe I'll
Are
bring
you,
them with me if people are interested in trades or somewhere.
so the next thing I have to show, um, the reason I'm showing it is because it popped up in my memories today. I've had this lovely object for 2 years as of today. I have two of my lovely Titanic friends to thank for this, Dave Gardner and John Barris. John found this for me on Facebook Marketplace and helped me acquire it. After much finagling, this wonderful woman in Staten Island agreed to sell it. But my other lovely Titanic friend, Dave Gardner, had to travel to Staten Island to get it. And then he mailed it to me. It's a very unique item. And Dave Gardner was so kind as to send me picture updates as he picked this item up in Staten Island and then traveled on the Staten Island ferry with it. I have a picture of this item with the Statue of Liberty in the background going across on the Staten Island ferry. And it's truly one of the most tacky items that I have, and I will never live this down, but I absolutely had to have it. I was obsessed with it for many, many years. And I'm going to show it to you guys. Y'all are going to think I have lost my mind. You probably already do, but that's okay. I saw this thing on eBay one time and I was like, oh, I want this, but it was really expensive. This is a Titanic cookie jar. It came out in 1997 by the Ensco company, along with 3 other related products. It was quickly discontinued and taken off the shelves along with the other 3 products because they were continued to be, they were considered to be too tacky and irreverent, I guess. But you can look it up. You can Google them. They were quickly taken off the shelves and off the market, which is why they're so hard to find and why they're so expensive if you do find them. This is the cookie jar part right here. I do have the original box for this, but I keep it on my shelf in the family room where everyone can see it because I'm so very proud of it. I'm proud of my friends who helped me get it, and I'm just proud to have it. The other 3 items in the collection, so we have this cookie jar, we have a coin bank that's porcelain of the Titanic sinking into the ocean.
Oh my God.
I know, right? And we have this lovely salt and pepper shaker set. And then the 4th item is actually really lovely. I don't know why they thought this was offensive, but it's a porcelain nightlight. It's like this long. And it's actually really lovely, and I have it in my bedroom plugged up. But you plug it up, it just has one of those little lights on a cord that fits up inside of it, and it lights up, and it's really lovely. Maybe I'll show that one day, but I don't think that was offensive at all. But all 4 of these items are extremely hard to find: the bank, the cookie jar, the salt and pepper shakers, and the nightlight. I have just gotten very lucky. Somehow
So you're just missing the one.
No, I'm not. I have all 4 of them.
Oh.
I have the original boxes for all 4, and I have all 4 out on display. So I have all 4 of them. The cookie jar is definitely the most unique and the most interesting item that I've ever had travel to me. It came from Staten Island by way of Dave Gardner on the Staten Island ferry. Yeah, it was an interesting trip. I love this little set though. I have the box for this too, but it's just much more, you can see it so much better out of the box. But if you're a Titanic collector, you always want to keep the original box for things like this and make sure that it's in good shape. These all go back at the original box and the original packaging and stuff like that. And the original boxes are kept in very good shape and everything, and they're in a safe place. But I just, for display purposes, I like to keep them out where I can see them and enjoy them. They were not cheap. So I want to enjoy them. And they're very unique pieces. I mean, look at the detail. This is a salt and pepper shaker. And that was a cookie jar in 2 pieces, complete with iceberg. Unique. Like I said, it came out in 97. And it was the 90s, so everything goes in the 90s.
That is true.
Okay, I don't know why my feed is Greg Ellis says not the cookie jar. Terry Bay said a cookie jar. Debbie McKee says that cookie jar is so cool. Terry Bay says you are too much. Y'all, I don't know why my feed is just not doing what it's supposed to do tonight. Stephen Pierce says, do not be fooled by the cookie jar. If you put Thin Mints in it, you would only get thinner. You will only get thinner if you do not eat them. Yeah, that's exactly right. Nothing's going in my cookie jar. It's gonna go back up on my Titanic shelf out there in the family room after this show, because I don't want my little people to be touching it.
Or putting cookies in it.
Or putting cookies in it. I don't want to give them any ideas, because then we'll just end up with a big mess. I apologize if I did not see your comments. Usually I can look at them and it's just a rolling feed, but I'm having to click back and forth manually and try to see the comments tonight for some reason. But anyway, so what else you got, Dan? You got anything else?
No, that was just the 2 for me this week.
All right, so I've got one more thing, and it's going to kind of roll us into our book segment. I'm sure I've mentioned it on here before that when I was 6 years old, I became interested in the Titanic because my grandparents sent me into their bedroom to watch anything other than Dallas.
I love Dallas.
And I watched everything with my granddaddy sitting on his lap. I watched the A-Team. I watched the Hulk. I watched Airwolf. I watched you name it. I watched everything with my granddaddy growing up, but I could not watch Dallas. That was off limits. So they gave me their remote to their TV. They had cable. When I was a little kid, we didn't have cable. So going to my grandparents' house was a real treat. So they thought I was probably watching like Nickelodeon or something. No, I was back there flipping channels, and I landed on Raise the Titanic. So my last item is I have Raise the Titanic on Blu-ray. Y'all, it was not as magical when I watched it with an adult.
I have that Blu-ray too.
So I was like, that's not the grand staircase. They didn't have a ballroom on the Titanic. I was very disappointed watching it as an adult, but I will say, there's some really good things about it. And it's very interesting. It has Obi-Wan from Star Wars.
Yeah, he plays a fake survivor, right? He's not playing a real person. It's a fictional.
And then, so that's going to segue us into books. I have Raise the Titanic by the legendary Clive Cussler, whose imagination brought us this movie.
And he wasn't a fan of that movie.
I don't think he was a fan of the movie.
I think he despised it.
Without this movie, I don't think that I would be sitting here talking to you people today, because
That's true. Good point.
I watched this movie and it totally sparked my interest in Titanic. Shortly after I watched this movie, the wreck was discovered. And I remember very distinctly listening to every word that Peter Jennings said when he talked to Dr. Robert Ballard about the wreck discovery. And I was just like, that was it for me. I checked out every book, watched every documentary. That was just the end. Terry Bay agrees. She has Raised on Blu-ray. She said the film score, Alec Guinness is reminiscing about Raising, or the best of the film. Yep, you're right. There is something magical about the scene where Titanic is coming up out of the water. The movie, the music, that scene, that's something that I remember very distinctly as a 6-year-old. Like, but then I also remember too hearing Dr. Ballard saying when they found the wreck that it was in 2 pieces. And I was like, you know what? That's never going to happen like in the movie. I mean, and as a 6-year-old, I knew at that time, you know, the ship was broken in half, and they were never going to be able to raise it like in the movie. It was just that simple for me. And yet, all these years, people are like, "Oh, they're going to raise it." No,
That's
no.
literally impossible.
I mean, to a 6-year-old, it was just very clear in my mind in that particular minute. Oh, it was broken in half. It's never going to come up out of the water because it's broken in half. Anyway,
I also
back to
remember somebody saying, it may have been Bill Willard, but I could be wrong. So I don't want to to put this on him, but it was brought up as a question, like, even if it could be raised, what would you do with it?
I right.
Like something that massively huge, like, oh, the Titanic is raised, but then like, where do we put this? I don't
When
mean to
people
laugh.
argue about grave robbing for bringing artifacts up, what kind of ethical and moral
Mm-hmm.
conversation we have about bringing the wreck up? We just had the conversation last week about where did the bodies go.
Yeah.
Anyway, Terry has a lovely quote from the movie. What a lovely thing she was, Alec Guinness. Okay, so that brings me to this. Okay, I'm reminiscing. Then this week, after months and months and months and months and months of delay and waiting, he's finally arrived on my doorstep. Yay!
Those are massive.
Because even though the movie sucked, it did. It still holds a special place in my heart because it's what brought me to Titanic in the first place. And this man, Jonathan Smith, has been working on these books for God knows how long. If y'all are not part of the Raise the Titanic group on Facebook, you should be. It's Jonathan Smith's group. And this man has every piece of Raise the Titanic movie memorabilia you can imagine. He has chocked both of these volume 1 and volume 2 full of movie memorabilia, behind the scenes stuff. I mean,
Wow.
I cannot even wrap my brain around it. Just, it's absolutely lovely. If you, I appreciate this man's passion. He has just gone above and beyond anything you can imagine, just collecting all of this. This is like a lifetime dedicated to his passion, which is for some reason the movie Raise the Titanic. He has photos, he has just he has posters, he has I mean, look at this stuff. Get these books. I mean, this is just, I really admire the man for, just sticking with it, writing these books, putting all this together. If you've been in his group, you can follow his story and just see what he's been through, from just starting with just a little small, kind of like a almost like a what did they call it? What did he start with, Dan? It was almost kind of like a Shutterfly book. He started with that, and then he's like, would anybody buy this if I actually wrote a book about it? And everybody's like, yeah, and so he started writing and he started putting things together, and somehow it grew from one book to 2 volumes of this. It's just, he's got all this really cool behind the scenes stuff. And you look at this. This is just not stuff you'll see anywhere else.
That is cool.
And whether you like the movie or not,
it has an interesting story.
The movie has an interesting story. I mean, it was based on a book that was written way before the Titanic was discovered. the book itself has a really interesting, you know, plot line. Look, he's got like scripts and stuff in here. The book itself has an interesting plot. You know, he went through a lot of trouble. The model for the movie went through an interesting story. I mean, it was used in a Britannic movie, then it was deserted in Malta. Now they're trying to restore it.
Oh my God.
I mean,
I hope it
we
wasn't.
won't talk about the Britannic movie. But I mean, buy the books. They're not that expensive. They're just absolutely lovely. I mean, look at this. Just look at that.
That is cool. That's a beautiful cover.
It is. It's just really. He's even got a foreword by actor David Selby, and Oscar-winning FX supervisor Jonathan Richardson. Just really.
Who did Selby play?
Selby, I don't know. I forgot his character's name.
Because he's not Dirk Pitt. That's the guy from Gettysburg. I can't remember what his name is.
Right, and he died right after Gettysburg. He barely made it through that movie. He had cancer.
Oh, I didn't know. That sucks because he's a really cool actor.
He was an excellent actor, and his story is so sad. They had to keep him medicated, and he just barely made it through Gettysburg.
He was awesome. Gettysburg is an awesome movie.
Richard Jordan, that's who that
There
was.
we go. Yeah. Oh, he was so cool. Gettysburg is great. If anybody out there's a war buff and they haven't seen that one, it's
Richard Jordan. But yeah, he
oh, and then what's his name is Jason Robards. I love Jason Robards.
David Selby played Dr. Gene Seagram.
Oh, okay.
Here's his bio right here. He's got like all the main actors and everything all listed out. It's just absolutely fantastic. Let's see. Greg Ellis says, I think you and I might have been watching the same airing of the movie. Terry Bay said, what a lovely thing she was. Terry said, my dad knew it had broken in two. He had read the newspaper reports as a kid when it happened. He was almost 8 when the disaster happened. Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, because it was Jack Thayer that said it broke in two, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, not everybody believed him. Even though some survivors said that, yes, it had broken in two, other ones were like, no, that didn't happen. So even the experts at the time didn't want to believe it. And they're like, no, there's no way that happened. They must have heard or seen something else. So even Ken Marshall's paintings and drawings depicted Titanic all in one piece up until the actual discovery. And then they had to reimagine everything, or not reimagine, but, relearn everything that they thought they knew.
That actually goes into my books when we get to it.
Terry said Richard Jordan was also in The Hunt for Red October. Yeah,
yes, he was. Oh yeah, he's like when he's talking to Alec Baldwin. Man, Hunt for Red October is awesome. Oh, now I want to watch Gettysburg and Hunt for Red October. That's like 5 hours.
It's a little Titanic show. All right. Anyway.
Hey, there's ships and.
All right. So what books? I took over the book section. I'm done with books. What books do you have?
Well, okay. So now, like I said, I was going through a lot of my older books. Hi, Jamie.
Dan said hi, Jamie. Hi, Dan. He said hi, Dan. You're on live. You can say hi to everybody else in the world too. Hi, everybody. He said hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
He's been DJing.
So, I don't know why I'm giggling now.
I giggle when I see you too.
This week, I kind of went a little differently than I usually would. I was really I've been getting really nostalgic for that era, and I'm not going to do them all at once because it'd be like 9 books in one segment. So I'm just splitting them up a little bit. So this one, the first one I'm going to bring up, we're not going to go fully into this book because we could do a whole episode just on this book alone. First, this is half collectible, half book. This is A Night to Remember. And when you brought that book, this is newer than that book you have, but this I got this copy of A Night to Remember. And I mean, A Night to
That's an
Remember,
old one though. What edition is that one?
this is from 1964. It's like the 20 something printing, but I was given to this by my dad when I got into Titanic, because he was like, oh, you're into Titanic. This book is about Titanic, and it would turned out to be A Night to Remember, which my little self didn't read because it was like A Night to Remember is a heavy book.
It is. I remember reading it when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
And then I read it later as an adult, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, and no, exactly. And that's just, wow is the perfect example. Because like I said, I mean, we won't get into all about this book in the movie, because you could do
a whole show about it. Do you have the illustrated version?
It is, yes.
No, I mean, no, there's like a big illustrated
there is. I thought there was illustrations in this one, but like I said, I mean, this is barely on the spine.
No, I'm talking about, there's like a big
that big one that
illustrated. I have that one. I have that one too.
Oh, I would love to get that one, because this is like one of like maybe 5 copies of A Night to Remember.
That's amazing.
But yeah, this is like the thin, I love the cover with the red on there and the thing. But yeah, this is something I've carried with, and I've never, this isn't the version of the book that I've actually read. Because again, if I sat there and read it, it would probably fall to pieces and be all over the floor, everywhere. But yeah, I've held on to this little guy for ever since I got started. But yeah, look, it's thin like that.
I like that. That's a nice one. I mean, that's a nice, good old version to have. Terry Bay's got another quote for us from The Hunt for Red October. You mean you lost another submarine?
Oh yeah, that's he's talking to the guy from Bill and Ted when he says that.
The guy from I need to go back and watch that. I don't remember a guy from Bill and Ted.
The second one, the bad guy from the future. Anyway. But yeah, so this, like I said, just going back and
that's a nice book. I'll have to bring my illustrated version of
I want that one desperately, because that is
a beautiful book. It's just beautiful. All right. What other books do you have?
Oh, okay, we're doing it that way. I'm never sure if we're gonna go like one or like.
I'm out of books. I just
that's right.
Steve Pierce said the first book I ever bought through the weekly reader program at school was the paperback version of A Night to Remember about 1968. Was it that one, Steve, the one that Dan had, or was it a different one? Because that's a nice one.
Yeah, this one's from 64. And then the one book I will talk a little bit about, like I said, and when we were starting to talk about, ideas changing, what we know changing, this book is
Thank you. Don't make it fall down.
The little sister to A Night to Remember by Walter Lord, and I think extremely underrated.
The Night Lives On.
Is The Night Lives On, the sequel. And what interests me about this one, and like Joe, what you were saying, like Ken Marshall painting his paintings of Titanic in one piece, that was Walter Lord with A Night to Remember writing his Titanic in one piece. And this one, which I do think is very underrated, picks up kind of where he left off in the story. Like he's talking about all kinds of different, like he talks about the Goodwins in there, like just looking at like the chapters, like what happened to the Goodwin, Shots in the Dark, The Electric Spark, talking about Captain Rostron, had ships gotten too big for Captain Smith, talking about just the music, talking about the music there, just stuff he didn't cover in A Night to Remember, but also too talking about, hey, now they went down there and it's in 2 pieces. So if you loved A Night to Remember and you'd never picked this one up, because it's a continuation, and I always thought if they remade A Night to Remember or another big budget Titanic movie, that would be a perfect
Yeah, it would. It would.
title for it. But yeah, this it's not I don't I could be totally wrong, but I've always people really don't talk about this one as much as A Night to Remember. And I really think it's worth people's time because it talks about a lot of big stuff
Yeah.
in the book there. And yeah, I think it's just fantastic. But yeah, that'd be my oh, excuse me, recommendation of the week. And then last but not least.
Wait a minute. Stephen Pierce said, yeah, it looked like the same book. I'm assuming he meant the same
Oh
one that you
yeah,
have.
with the
And
A
then
Night
he
to
said,
Remember, yeah.
he said, A Night Lives On is a great read, and his writing style is easy to read. Yeah, it is easy
Oh,
to
absolutely.
read. Even though it was heavy material, I remember reading it as a kid, and I was like, wow.
He's very personable, or Walter Lord, he was very personable in his writing, and it didn't feel like you were like talking to a professor. It was like you were talking to like a neighbor or something. It's as weird as that sounds. It was very person to person more than reading in academia. And which there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong, but just Walter Lord was very, and you could tell in the documentaries, he was truly enjoying himself and fascinated by the subject. But yeah, like I said, not to get into those two books because that could be like a 10-hour episode.
Definitely.
But my
you got the Eyewitness Titanic. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's in terms of like the nostalgic books, this and the 882.5 questions books rocked my socks off as a kid when I got these. Like, I have a president's one of this because I'm huge into the presidents too, and of the US for my non-American viewers. But yeah, this book is not the most accurate. I mean, there's definite like, because I was just thumbing through it today. Like, one of the inaccuracies is it has a picture of the Titanic crew, and it's the Olympic crew, and they like put arrows like Chief Officer Wilde. That's not Chief Officer Wilde, but like Pittman and all this. But like I said, I mean, inaccuracies aside, as thin as this book is, I would look through this because the pictures are just,
Yeah, I have several different versions of that too. They have put out like a different version every couple of years. Like, one of them had like a CD-ROM.
Yeah, I remember. I have that one too. But yeah, this was my original one, and it's just like I said, other books that I'll cover in sort of my like nostalgia trip books. So there are inaccuracies, but I think this one, it's not as glaring as some others would be. Oh, look, Joe, here, look at that. Raise the Titanic. But yeah, this book has just been with me like just so cool and vivid colors and pictures, and a perfect entry book for a kid. I mean, like I said, you do have to point out the inaccuracies because as we're all Titanic historians, that's something to look out for. But you could also, the way I look at that is, you could learn from that, and they could be teaching moments. But yeah, that little book there, that was almost like an old friend because I read the heck out of it.
All right. So I'm thinking right now would be a good time to maybe post the link in the comment section. If anybody would like to join us and chat for a few minutes, we could do that. So if you're watching us in a different group or not on the main RMS Titanic Reflections page, just click on on the actual live feed and go to the comment section and hold on, I'm trying to get there. And you click on the Zoom link and you can join us. Just to remind you, no foul language, and please keep your clothes on.
Yes, no swears, no.
It's a long story, Jamie. No, not tonight.
In the words of Joe, keep it appropriate, y'all.
Keep it PG at least. But anyway, so the link's out there. You're welcome to join us for a few minutes.
Da, da, da.
All right, so we've got Steve Pierce and Greg Ellis joining us.
The night lives on.
Hello.
Hey, Joanna.
Hi.
Welcome.
How are y'all doing?
Doing okay. Couple of things. I'm sorry about no picture. I'm actually on the road back home. Had to help my sister-in-law up in Zion area.
Okay.
No, we forgive you.
So, first of all, going back to what everyone was saying about Titanic and the inaccuracies, learning new things, something I always tell people when I'm giving one of my lectures is there are no experts on Titanic left. There's people who have their expertise that can apply it to Titanic, but everybody who designed her, everybody who built her, everybody who served on her is gone.
Mm-hmm.
But so when you stop and think, there's nobody who's a true expert on Titanic herself, and we're always learning something new. So, I mean, yes, everything we know to date is accurate. What are we going to know tomorrow that's going to make it inaccurate? So, I mean, especially like right now with them on a new expedition. So, I mean, Titanic, for all of us, Titaniacs is a living, breathing thing despite everything. And we're learning new things every day, plain and simple.
Very true. So you're in favor of giving new authors a chance?
Oh, definitely. Now,
I think we should.
But the new authors who are rehashing old conspiracy theories need to get their heads out of their posteriors, but that's beside the point. Because again, we're learning new things every day.
Yeah, my sixth grader brought me something today yesterday on her tablet that was from her, and maybe it was on her laptop that was in her school library, online library, that was about the Titanic conspiracy theory. She's like, "Look, Mom, I found something about Titanic." I was like, "Oh my gosh, no, I'm not even gonna look at that." She's like, "Was it really the Olympic?" I was like, "No." I was like, "Why is that in your school library? What is wrong?" No, put that away.
I swear that when it comes to some of those conspiracy theory books, they should be in the same row as Deck Z.
Yeah, I was like, no. How are you doing, Steve?
Good. You know,
Good.
the National Enquirer used to have a lot of theories like that too. We could put them in with the National Enquirer collections.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wasn't there one with Captain Smith that was always in those magazines? It was always something with Captain Smith, like the Globe magazine
to check out at the grocery store. I'm like, what's going on here? Like,
there was one where they found him alive like 50 years later in a lifeboat.
Yeah. I was like,
that just reminded me of that Alfred Hitchcock episode where they find somebody in a lifeboat, supposedly from Titanic, and the ship that rescues it happens to be Lusitania.
Wasn't that Twilight Zone or Night
Was
Gallery?
it Twilight Zone? I thought
Night
it was
Gallery. Night Gallery. I've got that.
Wow.
And
Oh
then
my
they
goodness,
find,
I might have to look that up. I don't think I've seen that one.
and then when they get in the next lifeboat, when the Lusitania sinks, he's drifting around till the Andrea Doria picks him up.
Oh
Yeah.
my word.
Oh my God.
If it would have been, if they would do it again, it'd probably be the Concordia that tipped over. That'd be the next one.
Oh my word. I need to find out what that is and watch that.
I'm
I
sure
don't
it's
think I've
Night
seen that one.
Gallery because I have all of the Night Gallery videos, and I think that's a Night Gallery.
My God, I wonder if it's on YouTube somewhere.
Oh, I don't know.
Most of the time when I describe that one, people look at me like I'm nuts.
Yeah,
But I'm like, I remember it clearly.
it was excellent. It was excellent.
I'm writing that down. Night Gallery, Titanic.
Mhm. Yeah, they pick him up.
Not to be confused with the time
the
tunnel
side of
episode.
Okay,
So-
interesting. So have y'all gotten any new Titanic collectibles? Greg, Steve?
I
I
actually
recently-
just go ahead,
Go
Steve.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I actually just got done buying one of the forks from the from John and David's auction last week. So
You too?
yeah, I swear to God, John and David are my dealers.
Me too.
They're feeding my addiction.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and this one's a third class fork, so it's going right with the other items. And I bought a couple more plates from the Titanic Museum, or not the museum attraction, from the
We losing?
Uh-oh,
Hello?
we just lost Greg's audio.
I recently, and this was last June, from the same dealers overseas, bought a cigarette case, silver cigarette case from the head purchasing agent of the White Star Line. And it had the business card in it.
Wow.
And it was engraved from all of the White Star Line managers on the occasion. I think his name was Palmer, but I can't remember. Maybe it was Clive Palmer. I don't remember the name, but it was on the occasion of him getting married in 1920. And it turns out that he was the one that approved the china and the silverware and everything that went on the three ships, or the two of the three ships. And it turns out that he was so enamored and in love with the Olympics pattern that was in the restaurant, the a la carte restaurant, that he bought a set of plates when the Olympic was scrapped. And it turns out the plates that I have came from his set, which I did not know. So I now have the cigarette case and business card, and my wife has banned me from buying anything overseas until January 1st. So that was the last big purchase until January. Then I'll fill you in after that. It was a mutual thing. I spent way too much on that, but I had to have that. That was one of those.
That's nice though.
I had to have it,
I've got just a cheap like souvenir ashtray with a White Star Line flag on, but it's not an official one or anything. It's just, but it might go along with your
The
your
cigarette
case.
case. Yeah.
Greg, I don't know if you can hear us now, but we did lose your audio. You're welcome to rejoin us. Anyway, us and our collectibles. I got this today. I forgot to mention it when we were doing collectibles. Whoops.
Oh, cool.
This is the second one that I have. I have another one. This one I'm going to be taking to school with me. I work at a high school. I'm a special education teacher assistant. And I don't know, about a month or so ago, they asked us if anybody wanted to sponsor a club. So I'm the only like teacher assistant who volunteered to sponsor a club, and mine is a shipwrecked club. So starting in October, we'll be meeting every other Friday, as far as I know. And my club will be talking about shipwrecks from all over the world.
That's cool. There's so many there's so many you could pick from too. It's incredible.
So yeah, so there aren't very many shipwreck board games except for like Titanic ones. So I have managed to snag a couple of Titanic board games. And that one is from 1998. Like I said, I already have one that I'm, in my collection. That one I just bought as a duplicate to take, for my club. And I've already contacted a bunch of people. And I put a post out there for those of you who are friends with me. I put a post on my personal page in the Great Olympic Class by RMS Titanic Reflections group. For anyone who wanted to, support my endeavor as a club sponsor, who could, who would want to speak about being part of an expedition, or donate books or games or whatever. So I've had a lot of people reach out, and I really appreciate that. So I think it'll be fun. I've got a lot of special guest speakers who will be joining us by Zoom and talking about expeditions that they've been on all over the world, and got a couple of people donating books about shipwrecks and stuff like that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so I got this today to take to school with me.
Sorry about that, guys. My wife called.
Your what?
My wife called.
Well, it happens.
But even Zoom knows who the boss is. So.
Oh my. But anyway, I was just telling everybody, I got a new to me Titanic game. I got that 1998 Titanic game, the board game, to take to school with me for my club. I'm starting a shipwreck club for students at the high school where I work.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I have a lot of special speakers lined up to talk about shipwrecks, and I'm going to have some board games that we can play, and different activities that we can do and stuff like that. So I don't want it to be all, just, speakers and stuff.
Don't forget to include the Eastland in the ships you discussed.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
The Chicago River, the shipwreck.
Mm-hmm. Oh, neat.
Over 10 feet from shore, or 5 feet from shore.
Mm-hmm. And it was like
1,000 people died.
What?
Yeah. So, long story short, it was a company outing. They were getting on the ship to go for a picnic, and it was early in the morning. They were completely overloaded, and it capsized, and people were trapped, and a lot of them died.
Wow, I did not know that.
I think it was over like 800, wasn't it?
Yeah, 860 or something like that.
Yeah, right on the Chicago River.
The reason it was top heavy is because they had to add extra lifeboats after the Titanic disaster. And I think that's what made it top heavy. At least that's what I have seen on displays and stuff.
I did not know that.
She also had a very narrow.
And what was the name of that ship?
The Eastland.
Eastland. Isn't that interesting? Is it still down there?
No, it was refurbished.
Yeah.
Oh wow, isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
But no. So Greg, what were you saying? You bought a fork?
Well, I bought the fork from John and David, and actually, John's going to be mailing that out on Wednesday next week.
Ooh.
But I also bought. I finished getting a couple of place settings from the RMST ink store because I wanted to have a set of the wisteria pattern for like special date nights for the wife and I when I make dinner and have candlelit dinner every so often. It was nice to pull out the good service.
Oh, nice.
Got that idea
good.
from a good friend of ours.
Oh.
John pulls John Hemmer pulls that out for him and his wife every once in a while.
Oh, cool. What a neat idea. All right.
We
You
just
mentioned-
had a new idea.
Joanna, you mentioned you work for school and you're looking for Zoom speakers. I have to relay this story. When I was a sophomore in high school, I had to give, in the communications class, I had to give 7 speeches and write a term paper. My first 6 speeches were on the Titanic. After the 6th speech, the teacher said, no, the next speech better not be on the Titanic. So I did it on the Lusitania.
There you go.
When it came to the term paper, she said, no ships. So I did it on the invention of the radio, and I still have this term paper somewhere. And somewhere buried on page 5, I wrote, on a cold April night in 1912, one of the first SOSs in history was sent out. And she wrote in the margin, I knew you'd fit it in somewhere.
Well, I have to admit, my junior year in high school, I did my big term paper on the Titanic, and I still have it. It's in a big binder. It was all typed out on the typewriter. I had a duplicate copy of the Nat Geo that had all the pictures of the Titanic. So I cut those out and I glued those in there. And I still have it to this day.
Cool.
I got an A on it.
I got an A-, but it would have been an A except for that one little comment that I put in there.
And like all of my book reports, they were all on Titanic books.
Good for you.
By the way, Joanna,
Yes.
what I was saying about you and I must have been watching the same airing. Now, you were only 6. I was probably, I was 12 when Titanic was found. And yeah, you and I must have been watching the same airing. And I thought, for all intents and purposes, Titanic was just another plot point in a movie or whatever until they found her. And I turned to my grandma and I'm like, wait a minute, Titanic was an actual ship? And she said yes. And that was all she would say about it. Even though she wasn't born until like 1920, their generation still would not talk about Titanic.
Well, after I saw Raise the Titanic, I started asking a lot of questions. I mean, I was 6 and I was like, so I watched this movie about a ship and it was the Titanic, and I just blah, 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 blah.
Oh yeah.
I remember just asking like tons of questions. Is it a real ship? Is it really sinking? Were there a lot of people? Did a lot of people die? And then my parents were like, I mean, that's just the type of kid I was. I mean, when I got a hold of something, I just didn't let it go. And I'm still like that, obviously. But, you know, and then when it sank, I mean, when they found the wreck, I was just like, ooh, you know, that was it.
Yeah, I remember watching that, and I remember watching Bob Ballard step off the boat at the Woods Hole Institute for the press conference and saying, we found her.
I remember like the actual interview. I remember watching Peter Jennings, and I remember him like talking to Bob Ballard, and I remember it was just very sketchy information. He was like, you found the Titanic, and he was like, yes. And he asked me a few more questions, and then he was like, and it was in 2 pieces, and he was like, yes. Because I always watched the news with my parents because I was just a nerdy child. I was terribly nerdy, and I was always watching the news with my parents. They're like, go play or something. And I'm like, no.
I heard something about an interview with Ken Marshall from when that he was talking about the day they found it, and he was on the ship and all that because his expertise with it and everything. And he called family, and all he could get out was, "My ship, it's gone," when they found it in two pieces.
Oh,
Because he was like everybody else. He was always literally picturing it in a hole, and here it isn't. And yeah, that just, and you can, yeah. Now, side note for the Raise the Titanic. As Joanna, I know you're aware of it. I actually met Clive Cussler at a book signing, and it was actually Clive and Dirk. I asked him about Raise the Titanic and what his thoughts were on the movie. At first, he's like, "Don't bring that up." He's like, "Okay, you brought it up." He said that the scripts that were written and everything were so far from his book that he barely recognized it. And that's why it took from 1980 until, what was it, 2008 when Sahara came out, for him to allow one of his books to be made into a movie again.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then Sahara, he was supposed to have final approval on the script. He was supposed to have input on the casting and everything else. And he went through like 3 or 4 scripts, and he's like, "These are great scripts. I don't know whose book they're basing it on. It sure as hell ain't mine." And that's why after Sahara, he wasn't ever going to let another one of his books be made into a movie. He said, "I was laughing all the way to the bank with it, but I was not happy." So that's the little tidbit I have as far as that one goes.
Well, he sounds like a really interesting guy. I wish I had gotten to talk to him before he passed. He's somebody I always had wanted to talk to. I mean, I just would love to have asked him, like where he got, his ideas, his plot line for Raise the Titanic, because that was really something different for its time. That was just totally cutting edge, to take that kind of equipment down to the bottom of the ocean, and then to actually raise a ship of that magnitude, whole or not, what a fascinating idea. And then
and some of the ideas that his characters were kicking around in the movie were some of the things that they actually were kicking around to try with the big piece.
Exactly. I'd like to say hi to our friend Rob Hayes from Australia. He's watching us. Thank you for watching.
Hey, Rob.
Hope you're having a good day. But yeah, I always wanted to talk to Clive Cussler. I mean, I just think he would just be a fascinating person to talk to. I mean, I've just read Raise the Titanic, and then the newest one, what was that, Titanic Secret?
Titanic Secret, yeah.
Just a fascinating man to come up with those kind of ideas. But may he rest in peace. But yeah, and I would, like you said, Greg, I would love to have gotten his opinion on the movie too, because it's really not that great. I mean, I'm sure they did the best they could, at the time. But I remember watching it as an adult, like, oh my gosh, what in the world?
Well, and you must admit, the one line from the movie really has to make you chuckle when Dirk and Sandecker are talking, and he's like, we've got the Russians on one side, a hurricane coming in on the other, and we're on board a ship that learned nothing on its maiden voyage but how to sink.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, so we've covered a lot of material here tonight. Hot topics, current events, collectibles, books, just all kinds of stuff. I really appreciate everybody watching. Does anybody have anything else?
I was just going to say that when they found the ship, was it 1985?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The
September 1st.
local newspapers here kept putting in pictures of the Olympic. So I called the newspaper and said, look, if you're going to show pictures of the Titanic, make sure it's the Titanic. Well, we don't know the difference. Well, I can
People are
tell
still
you,
doing it.
they came out and gave me an interview, and I was on the paper, and that's my 10 minutes of fame there, and I still got
That's
the
funny.
newspaper.
Well, people are still doing it, Steve. I mean, but documentary I watched last week that I totally gave a glowing review for, they showed tons of pictures of the Olympic, and I was just like, if you're going to have a Titanic documentary and there are pictures of the Titanic out there, why not show Titanic pictures?
Exactly.
You know,
Show
like,
pictures of the Titan.
When you stop and think about it, though, at the time, even after Titanic was launched and set sail, and the actual sinking happened, all of the pictures they were showing, the movie footage and everything else, was of the Olympic.
Right. All of the interior photographs, except for a few, were actually of the Olympic and
I
continue to
realized
be.
that. Just
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
documentary I was watching last week, though, they kept showing like Olympics propellers and stuff, and a lot of the exterior shots were Olympic, and I'm just
Right.
like, why?
No, I think what drives me crazier isn't showing the ship wrong. It's showing the saying that this is the Titanic's crew, and they're showing like a 60-year-old man when he's supposed to be like a 30-year-old. Or he's they showed a picture of like Fourth Officer Boxall, and he's like 20 years older than Boxall's supposed to be, and he has a mustache or something. It's like, stop it, that's not them.
Well, and then you get the movie footage of Captain Smith on the bridge of the Titanic. First of all, he's in his summer.
Yeah, he's in the white uniform.
And when you look in the background, not only is he on Olympic, he's on Olympic in New York. That is Chelsea Pier behind him.
There is an interesting video on YouTube about the making of A Night to Remember. And the director, was his name William McClinty or something?
McQuitty, yeah.
He saw the Titanic take off on its trials. He was there. Which I never knew, and it was fascinating to see how they made it. So, he tried to be as true as he could, especially considering they had no CGI back in 1958.
Oh yeah, and well, what's crazy about that movie is like in the credits it says special thanks to Fourth Officer Boxall, and you're just like I mean, when Titanic 97 came out, there were survivors, but like this one, it's like, wow, you had one of the guys from the actual crew who was on, and I think Lawrence Beasley was on set there. If I'm not,
I heard that.
If I'm not mistaken, he was there. Yeah, they like, it's crazy seeing like pictures of the premiere with like young Eva Hart and a certain stewardess / nurse from 3 of the sister ships.
Violet Jessup.
I think Walter Lord was part of the technical advising of that, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I believe, yeah, I believe so.
I think he was.
So we could honestly say Walter Lord had better movie luck than Clive Cussler did with.
Yeah.
Now I will say this. Yesterday, the wife and I were catching up on last season of NCIS before the new season starts next week. And the last couple of episodes actually had Ducky, David McCullum. Most people forget. He was in A Night to Remember.
Yes, he was Harold Bride.
Harold Bride, yep.
Oh, that's right. And then
and as soon as I saw Ducky, where does my mind go? I need to pull out my Night to Remember Blu-ray.
And then also Bernard Fox was he Barrett or
Fleet?
Or Fleet, Frederick Fleet, Barrett. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Don't hurt me, Titanic community. It was a slip.
Oh, that's okay. And he was also Colonel Crittenden on Hogan's Heroes.
Yes.
He was also Dr. Bombay on Bewitched.
There you go. Yeah.
and he was a British Archibald Gracie.
Archibald, was it Gracie or Major Bud? I don't. Oh, yeah, he was Colonel Archibald. Right.
We're coming full circle.
Women and machinery don't mix. And that was what he said to Cal. That wasn't me, Joe.
Well, so the lad's a hero.
That was Archibald Gracie, Joe.
Gracie, that's right.
Okay. Anywho, what else do we have? Women and machinery don't mix.
That wasn't me. I didn't say that. That's
it's in the movie.
It's in the movie.
That is
I know it's in the movie. All right.
Leaning over the edge and flipping her finger around. I wanted to see the colors.
You know what scene I always liked with Gracie from that one, and it's like a tiny moment, but it's like makes you like really like him in that movie where he's like, perhaps something for the boy, when Cal's just gonna be like, oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. He was like, give him something like a tip or something, thanks, or something. Yes, I'm like, I know. All right, Rob Hayes says, thanks, Joe, for the shout out. Always good to see you. Thanks for the input, guys. Too long live the memories of those who lost their lives in the ships you all mentioned, which I post on Facebook group I created on Titanic. Rob Hayes manages, admins the group Titanic 1912 and beyond, I believe.
Oh yeah.
It's a nice little Titanic group, very nice. Just like giving a shout out. If you're not already in that group, I would highly recommend it. Also, I'm going to give my group a little plug. Great Olympic Class Ships by RMS Titanic Reflections. And then also Dan has a group, a Violet Jessup group. Surprise, surprise. Anyway.
I hope to get restarted up again soon. It's been on one of its down periods.
And we are still working with Amber Fricky, Amber Ray, in regards to bringing back Titanic trivia. We have a trivia group that has been inactive for quite a while, and we are looking at bringing that back on a regular basis. So bear with us, and we are in the process of sorting that all out. Isn't that right, Dan?
Yep.
Yep.
Always fun. It's a chance to interact with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Learn something new.
Yeah, that was always fun. We used to do that a long time ago. I think we can do it again. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I'm not sure we'll be doing this again. Next Saturday is going to be kind of hectic for me. I will do my best to be available. I know, Dan, stop it. We might be able to do it. We'll see. I don't know if I have any new Titanic stuff coming in this week. I haven't ordered anything. Well, yeah, I have. What have I done? I ordered some stuff for the group. I mean, for my club. It's just that Titanic, the Jack and Rose Titanic game.
Oh, I have that. We could show that.
I do too. I have, but I ordered a duplicate for the club.
I'm still waiting for my George Behe book to come in the mail.
I got that one. What else have I ordered? I don't think I've ordered anything else. Hmm.
I said, I'm still not allowed to buy anything for another 3 months.
So wait, if you go to like a thrift shop and you see something Titanic for like $2, it's like,
Nope, she
nope,
has to pay
absolutely
for it.
not.
She has to buy. She can buy from overseas. I can't. So I just point at items, and then she.
Okay. So,
Hey,
all right, what's on
I'm
everybody's wish
gonna get the
list?
silent treatment because the last thing the wife let me buy was a combination birthday, Father's Day present, and I spent $300 on a replica White Star Line officer's cap.
Oh,
Oh wow!
that would be
The
cool.
ones from War Hats that are actual. They've got the white cover and everything.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's nice. It's very high quality, but you're paying for it.
Ooh, a wish list. That's a good question.
So what's on everybody's wish list? Because we're all collectors. Even if we can't buy anything till January 1st, what's on our wish list?
Honestly, if it's anything uniform related, talk to John Hemmer first because he's got some of the hookups. Like if you want one of the officers' great coats, he knows exactly the company to talk to get it made for you.
I think for me, if I had to pick out, well, like, okay, a couple of things. I'd like a piece of either Olympic or Britannic. I think that would be cool. Titanic could be that, but I mean, because I've seen people with like pieces of like Britannic wood or something Olympic,
Talk to John and David on White Star Memories.
Mhm.
Well, to be honest, since we are okay, if you want Titanic, you ought to get it for RMS.
Yeah, that's like on there, like a piece of.
But if you want Olympic or Britannic, then you can get it from John or David.
Mhm.
Yes,
and
they've got some good size pieces of deck wood that's not all that expensive. I've actually got one. If you want to just spend a few bucks, the shavings from when they cut them down and stuff, they save, and they sell a little container with the shavings of the deck wood with certificate of authenticity. If you want some of the interior trim and stuff, they regularly have it. In fact, generally on Wednesdays or Thursdays, keep an eye on White Star Memories Facebook page. They do a Facebook auction of things. They'll list them early. It'll be anything from White Star Line or other lines, but it will be like anything from postcards to actual dishware to replicas, you name it, they've got it coming up or on their online store. The auctions are usually your better way to do it.
I got my Olympic wood and my Britannic wood from them.
And you are going to be paying, just remember, you're paying in British pounds. So
yes. You have to convert it, and you have to pay shipping.
Yes, and the shipping, they do their best to save you money on the shipping, but it can bite you in the butt.
Be ready to pay, but
John's your man if it ever gets stuck in customs, because he helped me out. I was like, John, help me, because it gets stuck in customs. What happens? It got stuck in like Boston or something. I've never had that happen before. But
I actually had last year, actually right after COVID started, I had bought one of the pieces of rustical that they had, and John sent it out and everything. By September, it still hadn't arrived, and John's like, you know what? I mean, it's as rare as it is and everything, but you give me $20 to cover the postage, I'll send you another one. The two of them arrived 3 days apart from each other.
Oh, geez.
Oh, crazy! That's crazy.
Yeah, I bought a one of their sets of pieces of the bollard and the big piece that had
Yep.
fallen off in the tank. I got that set, and I bought a set for my brother for his birthday, and they shipped it right over to where he lived, and there was no problem. But the biggest thing we ever got was a chair from the a la carte restaurant of the Olympic. And my wife wanted that, and so we bought it. But to save shipping, because it would have cost us a fortune, he shipped 2 chairs, and the other chair, of all the places it could be, went 60 miles east of where I live. So he shipped them both to the same. We split the shipping, and I was able to drive over there and pick the chair up, but I didn't have to pay all the shipping for one chair. So they were really good about
That
that.
worked
Yeah,
out.
John and David do everything and anything that they can to help you save money.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're really nice guys, really nice. Trying to think what else I've gotten from them. I've gotten Olympic and Botanical. I've gotten tons of books from them. I've gotten 100-year-old
Silverware.
postcards. I've got my Olympic and Titanic 1911 Cadbury chocolate ad from them.
Did you get any of the silverware from them?
No, I have not gotten any silverware from them yet. I
I've
haven't
got-
delved into that little niche yet. I have some replica silver. I mean, I have some replica china that I've gotten from various places, but I have not gotten any authentic china or silverware.
Yeah, I've got a few pieces of White Star Line silverware from. Actually, I've got some of the Reed and Stars. I've got some of the panel reed, and I've got a couple of the third class as well.
I have gotten, what else have I gotten from them? I've gotten some posters and some autographs from them, like Melvina
Yeah.
Dean and
I
stuff
think
like
my
that.
dream autographs would be too expensive.
Actually, Melvina was rather prolific about signing anything that was put in front of her. So
Oh, well,
there's
no,
a
I'm
lot
talking, I'm
of-
like, my signatures I'd be looking for would be like bridge crew or a certain stewardess slash nurse.
Yes. Oh, he wants
I have no
Violet
idea who
Jessup's
you're
signature.
talking about, Dan.
No, like I think it would be so cool to have like Lightaller, Pittman, Boxall, or Lowe, and then, or I mean, it would be near impossible, probably.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've seen those anywhere, but
Well, no, I mean it'd be because I think most of them died what 1950s, 40s, or no, I think Lightaller died for, or no, Pittman. I don't know, I don't remember. No, I think Lightaller died first.
Nigel said he's sorry he couldn't make it to the live chat. He's doing house cleaning.
We
That's
forgive
okay,
you,
Nigel. I should
Nigel.
probably be doing house cleaning too, but it's after midnight and I am not gonna do that.
Oh, and then my other dream item would be if I was going to do an officer replica, probably the Lightaller turtleneck with the hat and the long coat look. That would be kind of cool.
Okay. Speaking of officer replica,
Yeah,
we probably need to get John Hemmerk in on this to talk about the actual White Star Line uniform that the man owns.
mm-hmm. I have the button. I got that.
No, well, so do I. And actually, it's the.
I want a button, a real one.
I've got an actual button. I've actually got a set of buttons that eventually I'm going to get a full uniform made. And John said, okay, once you get it, send everything to me and I will kit it out properly for you.
That is cool. John's great. I love John. He's a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
I had 2 items I bought from them that one of them, it took me a year and a half to get, to convince my wife. It was a fruit bowl from the Olympics a la carte restaurant.
Oh,
And it was one of only 2 known to exist. So I had to make payments on that.
Oh, yeah.
And I did get a scallop shaped vegetable dish of the same pattern from the Olympics restaurant. And that was the only one that they know exists. And the reason they sold them is because David was getting married. He needed money for the wedding.
Yeah.
So
And then the other time David let a whole bunch of good stuff go was when they were getting ready to move to Scotland.
right, right. It's just amazing the things they have. I believe they have a revolving door that came off one of the Olympics lounges.
Yes, they do.
You saw that too.
And actually, it was only, I think it was last year at this time when they managed to identify the handles that they had just acquired and where it went, and turned out being to that door.
Well, there's a revolving door, and then there's that other door.
Yeah, then there's the swing door. I remember that too.
Yeah.
And I'm talking the ones that went on the revolving.
Okay. All right.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Well, didn't they just a year or so ago find one of the boat train cars that needed to be restored?
Yes.
And they were able to buy it and move it, and they're in the process of restoring it. One of the first class.
I don't know if they bought it or they are working with the Preservation Society, because you got to remember the two of them were very integral parts of bringing Nomadic home.
Right, right. David was in charge of the restoration, I think.
Right. And actually, that's one of the things I think Joanna's still jealous of me on. When they were restoring Nomadic, they had to take a lot of the ceiling roses were missing or broken. Others of them were intact. And they took one of the intact ones and had a limited run of replicas, perfect replicas made from that one. And when they got done restoring the interior on Nomadic, they had some left over, not very many. And I actually happened to get hold of one of those ceiling roses that were specifically made for the restoration.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yes, he has that, and he has one of the rose bricks from the what is it, the pier in New York?
Yep, Pier 59. Yep, I've got the rose brick. I'm not the only one, but yes, I've got the rose brick.
Yeah. There are a few things that Greg has that I want, but that's okay.
One of these days, I actually probably need to do a video of my my display cabinet just to show off a portion of my collection.
Did you see my tile, Greg? My
Which
new
one?
tile?
No,
Huh?
I didn't. No, I
I
didn't.
got a
Which
tile
did
while
you
I
get?
was at the Titanic conference.
One of the floor tiles, the hexagon ones, or
I don't know. It's
the
like
linoleum,
it's
the
like
linoleum
green,
ones?
it's like greenish.
Yeah, the linoleum ones. I've got one of those. I got mine from John and David a few years ago. But yes, those are wonderful to have. And when you look at how those were made, honestly, somebody who was enterprising enough could have those recreated, because it was basically the different colors that were die cut and then inlaid inside of each other. So those could be recreated probably quite nicely. Yeah, I've got those. I've got a couple of the tiles that are supposedly from the third class in the movies at the movie set.
Oh, I have one of those. I remember
Yeah.
when we looked.
I've got the beige and black, and then the black and beige.
Yeah, I got one. I picked up one of those too.
And then
I'm so excited to have one though. Like, yay! Sauter said he's pretty sure it's from Olympic.
Oh yeah.
But I don't have a certificate to go with it. But he said he's like in the 90th percentile sure that it's from Olympic.
I'm kind of scared to go to the conference because I feel like I'm gonna end up bankrupt. Because I am planning on going. I am planning on going next year, or next. No, it would be next year. But like, I'm like, I'll walk in there and then they'll be like, "Oh, it's Dan, that guy, the Jessup guy," and I'll be like, "Ah."
And Greg, I got an Allen St. George clock, the teeny tiny one.
Oh, right.
Okay, yeah, I'm jealous of because
There,
that
you can buy those online.
I know, but I got it at the conference.
.com.
I talked my husband
Actually-
into buying me one. I love
Actually,
it.
what I might be doing, because I mean, I'm in, Dan knows where I'm at. I'm just outside, just like 40 miles west of Chicago.
We're in the same neighborhood. I'm in Rockford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in Hangover Park.
Oh, Joanna's surrounded by Illinois guys now.
Um,
I'm in
but
Virginia.
one of the, I mean, I've got plans either in October or next spring to go down to Savannah, Illinois, and actually tour Alan's house.
That's
Nice.
Haven Fest.
See, that's
So-
why Bill Willard should do the conference in Illinois.
There
There's
you
a lot
go.
of us.
Do that and then come see our collections, and we're set.
We don't have much else going on, so we might as well have a conference here.
Honestly, everyone's probably the same with our group, but whenever there's any kind of a Titanic, anything going on in the area, and by in the area, I'm like, if it's a day trip, I'm there. I've been to the Mark Twain Museum just across the river to see the Titanic exhibit. I've been to out by Rockford for the Titanic the musical that was out there not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a portion of my collection was on display for the Titanic musical. So yeah.
I went to the museum. It was Museum in Science and Industry. The exhibition was at, right?
Oh, I'm still
yeah.
picking. So, quick story on that one. I wanted to go so bad.
I went. That's where I got my coffee cup that I had on the last episode.
January 13th, 2000, we had a really bad snowstorm here. I was on my way to work. I lived up in Waukegan at the time, was on my way to work at Motorola in Harvard. And I had a bad car accident.
Oh.
Compound of 3B, borderline 3C compound fracture of the tib fib. They were talking about amputation at one point in time. But needless to say, I was totally laid up for that entire exhibit. So I never got to the Chicago MSI exhibit.
Some of that's in Las Vegas at the Luxor now.
Yeah. So I got to see it, and a few people are jealous of me. A few people were actually there at the same time I was, and I'm just finding out. In '99, I got to see the big piece in Atlantic City when it was still going through the desalinification.
Okay.
Salt on it.
Cool.
It was in a big pool. So the main exhibit was at the Tropicana in Atlantic City. Out on the boardwalk, there was a huge tent, and inside the tent was one of those big, like 12-foot pools like you would see in somebody's backyard.
Right.
It actually it was bigger than 12 foot, but the big piece was in there going through treatment.
Right.
Cool.
And I want to say maybe it was Alicia Brinkowski that happened to be there at that same exhibit. It might have been that same day, because we were both there, and this security guard out there on the boardwalk with the big piece was sleeping.
Wow.
So, but yeah, that was a sight. That was a sight.
I've got a cute story about the Chicago Museum display. I was there. I went several times. I would take a train from Harvard to Chicago and then a cab over to the museum. But the last day that it was open, I was in line to get in when they cut the theater open. They had a group of 65 deaf mute people from Peoria go right ahead of me. And the very first item was the Olympics bell. And the lady didn't know the answer. They asked where the bell was at, and she didn't know the answer, the guide. So I said, well, I can answer that. And the second item, I don't remember what it was. She didn't know the answer. And I said, well, I know the answer to that. And the third item, she didn't know much about it. And then she looked at me and I said, I can answer that. She said, would you like to lead this tour? I said, I would love to. I spent 2.5 hours on everything I said had to be sign language to the people, but I spent 2.5 hours taking them through this exhibit. And afterwards, the guide said, is there something we can do to pay you for your help? I wanted to ask and I never did. I would have asked, can I just put my hand on the big piece just for a second or two? And I never did. I never did it. And to this day, I regret not doing it. But
I would have.
what's that?
I said I would have asked.
I wanted to, but I didn't know. I was afraid to. So, but that was my highlight, was to take these people on tours and answer their questions. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
It was funny because I kind of did the same thing at the Mark Twain exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the exhibit that was at the Mark Twain Mississippi River Museum. And it wasn't so much that I was explaining stuff to other people right off the bat. It was me, my wife, our daughter, and one of her friends from Girl Scouts. And we're going through and I'm explaining, and the tour guide is over here with the tour group. The tour group left the tour guide and was following us around as I'm going through it. And the tour guide's just sitting there with her mouth open. All of a sudden, I'm at one of the displays, and she's like, "I didn't know that." Okay,
yep, that's the way it goes.
So yeah. And Joanna, you were talking about the museum and stuff. I agree with you. Everybody needs to go. It's funny. Pigeon Forge and Branson both say on their websites allow about 2 to 2.5 hours to go through. Anybody who's going to do any amount of reading like we do at every single item in there is going to be having to spend at least 4 hours going through that museum.
Yeah. So we didn't get to go as slowly through this time as we wanted to. I mean, we were dressed in wedding clothes and stuff. We kind of like, we walked through it like right after our wedding, and we're still kind of shocked and awe. Everybody kept stopping us like, oh, did y'all just get married? Yes, we did. Oh, congratulations. So like we got stopped a million times, and we wanted to get back by there on Sunday, but we didn't get a chance to. So
now, when we went to Pigeon Forge, I was lucky enough to be there on a weekend when Lowell was there, their regular captain. And the stories he has, because he actually has been down to Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
And the stories he has and everything, he is a great storyteller. By the way, he's got a great book there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drawing a blank on the title of the book.
I don't know. We went through twice last year when we went, but this year they closed early on Sunday because they were having an employee picnic. So we didn't get to go through twice this year. But I think I know who you're talking about. The captain there this year was the guy who married us.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. Again, congratulations. You look beautiful.
Thank you. We did have a lot of fun.
What a way!
Our wedding day was just really fun. I mean, Jamie and I were talking about it this morning. It was just like, it was so surreal. Like we got married. We had pictures taken. We went through the tour of the museum kind of quickly. We had lunch with our friends. Then we went back to the Titanic conference. And we got to see Madeline Astor's life belt really up close and personal. And then we sat through a few more speakers and we went and had dinner with our friends. And it was just such a surreal, fun day. It was just really fun.
Did your husband propose to you by the clock and say, do you want to go to a real party?
No. It's kind of funny. Like last year, I don't know if a lot of people know this story, but last year we went to the Titanic conference together. We'd only been dating a few months, and we were helping out a little bit with the conference, and we were supposed to help set up for the gala dinner, and everybody was running late because of the Jeeps. It was Jeep weekend, and this year was Jeep weekend too, which just is crazy. So what happens on Jeep weekend, thousands upon thousands of Jeeps descend upon Pigeon Forge, and it's just crazy. So like you're fighting traffic because they just kind of cruise up and down Pigeon Forge, and they're not in any hurry. So Bill Willard and his wife Judy last year, they were practicing Titanic musical songs with a group from a college. I cannot remember the name of it because I'm old. But they were fantastic. But they were practicing a number of songs with them that they were going to perform at dinner, at the gala dinner. So Jamie and I went to the Titanic Museum and we were going to help set up with the name cards and all that stuff. But we were running late because of the traffic. So we start running through the Titanic Museum with the staff, and we got to the elevator, and I turn around and we're in the grand staircase. And it absolutely took my breath away, and I actually kind of teared up a little bit because this is the first time I've seen this. And the grand staircase there was made, from the blueprints of the actual grand staircase.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, and I was just, it's absolutely breathtaking when you're standing there. And so we get in the elevator, and he looks at me. He's like, "Gee, I wonder if they do weddings here."
Oh.
I was like, "Actually, they do."
Wow.
And he was like, "I'll have to remember that," or something. He just said something silly. And I don't know. We had only been together a couple of months, but we just kind of knew then already.
Cool.
And I was just like, I just kind of giggled. And so we went on up to the gala dinner and did the whole thing. And the rest they say is history. We got married there a year later.
Well,
Quick note
congratulations
on the grand staircase. If anyone's interested on the process for how the Pigeon Forge particular grand staircase was made, you can look up an episode of Museum Men from History Channel. And they actually showed the whole process of them being approached and doing the research to recreate the staircase.
Well, they did an amazing job. And I will tell you that going up that staircase on my wedding day was kind of scary. Because I was so afraid I was going to trip and fall. And I have a bad hip. See, I sound like an old lady. I have a bad hip anyway. So I had to hold on to that railing so I didn't fall. If anybody watches the video of my wedding on the museum webpage, on the museum Facebook page, you notice like hand my bouquet to Bill Willard and like grip onto the railing so I don't fall. Because the stairs are made, they're very odd size stairs. I don't know how to describe it. They're very awkward, like sized stairs. And going down the stairs is kind of awkward too. If you notice us going down the stairs when we walk out, we're like, instead of looking out at everybody, we're looking down so that we don't like trip and fall. But they're just awkward little stairs.
That would have been just your luck.
Huh?
That would have been just your luck.
I know, right? Because I'm so
Actually,
clumsy.
But you got to admit, if it had been Amber, she would have gone down. How clumsy does Amber always say she is?
She's pretty clumsy. But I had to concentrate so hard, Greg. I'm like, I'm going to make it up these stairs. I'm not going to fall down. If I do, the split in my dress is going to go all the way up. Because I had them sew the split in my dress down some because it was so high anyway. So I had it sewed down. I'm like, if I fall down these stairs, my mom is going to be so mad at me. So I'm like, I'm going to be very graceful. I'm not going to fall up or down these stairs. It's not going to happen. I'm going to just, it's going to be okay. And I did. I managed to just calm myself down.
Upright.
I didn't let my hip get the best of me. I have like, I say my hip, but I have like some kind of degenerating something in my back that makes things not work on my left side. So it just made it work. I was like, here you go, Bill. Here's my bouquet. I'm going to hold on to you and to the railing.
There you go.
Not fall. So it was great. It was great fun.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it to anybody who's getting married. It was fun.
I think once is enough.
Yes. I'm done. I'm not doing this again. I told Jamie he's stuck with me.
That's it.
That's it. I'm not doing this again. So.
Well, there's always going and renewing your vows on the grand staircase.
There you go. I'm not going to.
I'll do that on my 50th if I can still go up the stairs.
There you go.
That's 7.5 years away yet, so we'll
There you
see.
go, Steve. You can do it. It's fun. It is a wonderful experience. They make it just so like everything just works like clockwork. But they
Wow.
want you walking down that aisle at 8 o'clock though.
Yeah.
Sharp.
So they really make it count.
Yes.
Oh no, you had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah, he did.
Ding.
Well, you know what they always say. You only go around once or twice or whatever.
It was just
The
great.
first one is to learn what you don't want. The second one is to know what to get it right. The first time around's practice.
Well,
And third time's a charm.
Let's
Yes.
hope none. Let's hope I don't have to go there.
I'm hoping my wife is asleep right now and not hearing it.
Otherwise, you're on the couch.
Well, out back, probably outside. The rain's coming, so.
All right, guys. I know that y'all are on a different time zone, but it's 1 o'clock in the morning here in Virginia.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna tell y'all good night.
This was really
night,
a
dear.
night to remember.
Ha ha ha, Dan.
Oh,
It was
Boy,
a night to remember.
These jokes give me that sinking feeling, you know?
Us too. It gives us
Have a great
sinking
night,
feeling.
everybody. I'm off. Goodbye
Take
now.
care, Steve.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for watching the 401.
Thanks,
We'll be back
everybody.
again, hopefully in a week or so. Bye, everybody. Thanks
Bye,
again.
everybody.
Good night.
peace out.